Sorry for the interruption. We have a problem of network. As I was saying, the history of electricity developments in Nigeria can be traced back to 1898, when the first generating power plant was installed in Lagos before the colonial era. As I said, that Benjamin Franklin, an American inventor, scientist, invented electricity in about 1700. But Thomas Edison produced a reliable, long-lasting electricity, that is a light bulb, his laboratory in about 1879. Professor of chemistry Michael Faraday, born in London, South, a self-taught scientist. He excelled in chemistry and physics. He is the father of electricity because he discovered law of electromagnetic in electricity, and also he invented the first electric motor, and also he built the first electric generator, and he never had a formal scientific education. So these are the gifts from Almighty God. That is inspiration from Almighty God. There are some scientists out there that even some they have a PhD in science. And they never discovered or invented many things all these great scientists or inventors have invented. So in 1950, because we have to understand the problem why the electricity is not stable in Nigeria, we have to go back to the history. So in 1950, the pattern of electricity development reached many towns under the colonial master. That is the time of Sir John Mafansin, who is the seventh Governor General who ruled Nigeria from 1948 to 1958. During the Mafansin, that is when some of the developments on electricity began. But I have to mention white men who ruled Nigeria between 1914 to 1960. Before I move further, Sir Frederick Lord Lugard was the first Governor General who ruled Nigeria in 1914 to 1919. Then Sir Hugh Clifford also ruled, so he was the second Governor General. He ruled from 1919 to 1925. Then Sir Creamer Thompson, he is the third Governor General who ruled from 1925 to 1933, and Sir Donald Cameron was the fourth Governor General who ruled from 1933 to in 1935, and Sir Bernard Bodilon also ruled, is the fifth Governor General who ruled from 1935 to 1943, and Sir Arthur Richard also was the Governor General who ruled from 1943 to 1948. So Sir Johnson Macpherson was Governor General as well, who ruled from 1948 to 1958, and Sir James Robinson ruled as a Governor General in Nigeria from 1958 to 1960. So after in 1960, that is when the Sir Amadu Tafawa Balewa became Prime Minister in Nigeria. Although he became Prime Minister from 1957 to 1960, but he was the commander of the Order of Federal Republic of Nigeria, and Nnamdi Azikiwe became the Governor General in 1960 to 1966. So now with all those dates, we have to link all those dates together with in 1950 about the pattern of electricity development in Nigeria. So during the military regime, because Aguiyi-Ironsi ruled Nigeria from January 1st, 1966 till July 1966, and he was killed during the first coup in Nigeria, and then Yakubu Gowon became Nigerian head of state. So during the military regime of Yakubu Gowon, and there are a lot of developments on electricity. But before then, in 1960, electricity of Nigeria, they form a company called ECN. That is when the ECN is a Niger-Dam Authority, and also Electricity Corporation. So they joined the two together, and they merged them together, and so that is from Electricity Corporation of Nigeria. So they joined the two together and became Electricity Corporation of Nigeria, that is ECN. And the management of ECN, they changed their name immediately after the Nigeria-Biafra War of 1967. So Nigeria-Biafra War was 1967, between 1967 to 1970. That was when Yakubu Gowon was in the government. So that is when they changed the name. And in 1972, so it became NEPA, that is Nigeria Electricity Power Authority. So in 1950, that is when the John Macpherson was in the government. That time he really tried his best that we have stability of electricity in Nigeria that time. But in 1970, during the military rule, that is under Yakubu Gowon, Nigerian government appointed a Canadian company called Showments Limited to review the merger of Niger Dam Authority and Electricity Corporation, that they have to review they have to review the company, how they merged the company together, and they submitted their report. So that time, and in 1929, something happened again as well, because first electric utility company, when Nigeria started issue the bill for the Nigerians to pay for the bill. So first electric utility bill company also was established, so known as Nigerian Electricity company. So they supply the bill, and they formed that company in 1929. So during the Creamer Thompson, which I mentioned earlier. Then in during the Yakubu Gowon, so that is when they decided that they have to match them together, and then so that is when the company was established. Then in 1970, so during the Yakubu Gowon, Nigerians know the value of electricity in the house. Then during the military regime of General Ibrahim Babangida in 1989, so you know Babangida overthrew Buhari Diagba's government in 1985, and he ruled till 1993. So during the military regime of General Ibrahim Babangida, so NEPA was commercialized. They commercialized NEPA, and they generated about 3,450 megawatts at that time. So it's about 6 power stations in Nigeria. So Babangida spent a lot of money on electricity that time to improve our electricity. And in 1971, the report Yakubu Gowon received on from the Canadian company to review the Nigerian electricity was available to Babangida when he was in government that time. But in 1971, the military government, they issued official decree number 24, that the ECN were merged to become NEPA. So that is how the NEPA came up. So the military used the decree, so that as they have merged two companies together that became NEPA, then the official decree was issued. So in 1971. So that is when the ECN became NEPA officially, with effect from April 1st, 1972. And the military actually started the merger on the 6th June. So, on the 6th January, 6th January 1973, that is when the action began. So according to the official website of the NEPA and some government official documents. So these are how the NEPA was formed, how ECN also was formed, which we have to have the knowledge about all this, so that we stop blaming Nigerian government about electricity. Why Nigerian government is not providing us electricity? You have to understand all these things that we are discussing, because electricity is no more in the hand of Nigerian government. It is in the hand of individual. So only 3 people controlling the electricity in Nigeria, which I have mentioned earlier. Now, due to unstable power supply of NEPA before becoming power holding, so Nigerians have changed the full meaning of NEPA when they became NEPA, because of the unstable or instability of the power. Many people, they have changed the meaning of NEPA from Nigeria Electricity Power Authority to no electric power at all. No electric power at all. So that is NEPA. So after NEPA changed their name, because after the NEPA has been sold, so they sold NEPA during Obasanjo sold NEPA. And when they sold NEPA, the company that bought it, they changed their name from NEPA to Power Holding. That is PHCN. And when they changed the name to Power Holding as well, due to instability of the electricity, so Power Holding Company of Nigeria, so Nigerians changed that one as well. So they changed it to please hold a candle now. Please hold a candle now. That is PHCN, due to unstable of the electricity in Nigeria. So Nigerians complain and criticize the tariff being too low to the generating power. Late Alhaji Umar Musa Yaradua, when he was in the government, before he died, he increased the tariff July 2010. And that time, before he died, Yaradua spent about $7.2 billion on electricity. $7.2 billion is spent for the stability of electricity in Nigeria, to improve the stability of electricity. But all his efforts failed. So then between 1999 to 2007, when Obasanjo became Nigerian president, Obasanjo has ruled before 1976 to 1979 as a military. Then he came back in 1999 and he ruled between 1999 and 2007. So Nigerian government under the Obasanjo's watch, they enacted the Electric Power Sector Reform Act. So that is Act of 2005, which allowed Nigerian power utility companies into series of 18 successor companies, 6 generation companies, 12 distribution companies, covering all 36 states in Nigeria. So Obasanjo spent about $16 billion to improve the electricity in Nigeria, but no tangible results on that money Obasanjo claimed that he spent on the electricity in Nigeria. So year 2000, that is when NEPA became PLC. NEPA became PLC, Public liability company, whereby people can buy shares. That is year 2000. Then between 2007 to 2010, during the Yaradua, he tried all his possible best on the stability of electricity in Nigeria. But as I said, no improvement on the Nigeria's electricity till he died. Then, after Yaradua died, Goodluck Jonathan became Nigerian president immediately after the announcement of the sudden death of Yaradua. So, between 2010 and 2014, when Goodluck Jonathan was president, so the federal government decided to privatize power holding. So I hope you are following what I'm saying, because now NEPA was sold during Obasanjo, and then it became power holding before Obasanjo left. Then during Jonathan, between 2010 and 2014, Goodluck Jonathan decided that federal government have to privatize power holding. So power holding came to an end. So power holding came to an end. So that is, and Nigeria Electricity, that is power holding also. Jonathan sold power holding. When he sold power holding, those people that they bought it, they changed the name again to Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, that is NAS. And this company was formed in about 2013. So that is the electricity company in Nigeria now moved to another stage. So ECN in 1960 then became NEPA. It became NEPA in 1972. Then 1999 it became PCCN, Power Holding. So in 1999, then NAS 2003. 2013. So it became NAS 2013. So NAS is not NEPA, and NAS is not power holding anymore, because some Nigerians do not know all this information, because they think that it is NEPA. They think NEPA is still existing in Nigeria. 95% of the people living in Nigeria think that NEPA controlling the distribution of electricity. No, there is nothing like NEPA anymore, and there's nothing like power holding anymore. So nothing like that. So the company that regulating the electricity currently in Nigeria is a company called NAS. NAS. So the company is under only 3 people: General Abubakar Absami, former Nigerian head of state, and Sani Bello is one former military man as well, and Mr. Okafo Emeka is an Igbo man. So these are the 3 people that they are controlling the electricity in Nigeria. They are the one controlling the electricity in Nigeria. So Jonathan sold the power holding. 2015, that is now under Muhammadu Buhari, General Muhammadu Buhari, who is the current Nigerian president now. is not in control of electricity in Nigeria. So don't blame Muhammadu Buhari for not providing electricity in Nigeria. The electricity is not in the hand of federal government, and that is the fact. So Buhari government also is secure 1 billion credit line from the World Bank to improve the electricity in Nigeria. So Nigeria is rated as the darkest nation in the world. It is ranked lower on the international indices in the business sector, which is discouraging foreign investments due to the unstable of electricity. So shortages of electricity in Nigeria is a complex issue because 3 people control electricity in Nigeria, as I said. So shortages of electricity has affected Buhari's government. It has affected the security in Nigeria. It has affected the health sector in Nigeria. It has affected the education sector in Nigeria. It has affected the economy in Nigeria. It has affected the politics in Nigeria. It has affected the policy in Nigeria. So because for instance, if we look back a little bit about the amalgamation of Nigeria, the southern, eastern, western parts of Nigeria, you will see that when they amalgamated all these regions together, like in 1914, that is the amalgamation, when they amalgamated all the tribes together in Nigeria, and they put the power in the central. So who signed the 1914 amalgamation? 1914, because Nnamdi Azikiwe was born in 1904. So that is, during that amalgamation, he was just 10 years old. So when the 1914 treaty was signed, then Obafemi Awolowo was born in 1909. So he was 5 years old when the 1914 treaty was signed. Then Abubakar Tafawa Balewa was born in 1912. So he was 2 years old when the 1914 was signed. And Michael Opara was born in 1920, so he was 6 years old when the treaty was signed. So they call the amalgamation of northern region and southern region. So that they have intention that we should live together, and so we should make sure that our people are living in the light, not in the darkness. So the British, they tried their best. There was stability of light when they were in Nigeria, so they try their best. So after they left, so many things went wrong. So Nigerian political leadership class in the past, they rule with self-services. Because some of the leaders who have ruled in the past, they value Nigeria and they value the life of citizens and property, so they pay much attention to the electricity. But those who came after them, so they rule with personal goal. That is why there are many corruption in the electricity sector as well in Nigeria. And corruption has been greatest problem in Nigeria from 1960 till date. Breakdown of law and order triggered the corrupt practice and creates avenue. It creates avenue for the instability of power. It creates avenue for the lack of security and lack of um, uh, health sector, and the economy also is crimped. The economy is crimped. So these are the things that happen. If we look back into about 1558 to 1830, before they discovered our force. So cotton joined the export. They used the cotton and the cocoa. They used cocoa. Cocoa became an export crop in about 1895. And in 1956, so it was reintroduced. Then a free education program was funded that time from the cocoa revenue and from rubber and palm oil. University of Ile-Ife was built from the income from the cocoa, and Liberty Stadium in Ibadan, so Cocoa House in Ibadan, so established from the revenue from the cocoa that time. Then University of Nsukka also were built with foreign grants that time, and they use some of the income that they get from the proceeds for cocoa and groundnuts that time. That time as well, Nigerian Railway as well was functioning. So electricity supply was regular that time, 24 hours, 7 days in a week. So water supply was regular, security is effective. So Awolowo, Azikiwe, and Ahmadu Bello, they invested good leadership into our country that time. But after we discovered the crude oil, Nigerian crude oil exports to about 5 regions by Destination Act of 2001. North America, made up of USA, Canada, they get about 41.25%, so of the total 2.5 million barrel that we get per day. And in Europe as well, European countries also buys crude oil from Nigeria, which comprise Germany, France, Italy, Netherlands, Portugal, Spain, Sweden, and the United Kingdom. So they buy crude oil from Nigeria, and 26.9%, and Asia countries and Far East, comprising India and Indonesia, they buy crude oil from Nigeria. So 59% South America, they get about 7.11%, and about less than 8% of Nigerian crude oil goes to Senegal, Cameroon, and some other neighboring countries. So Nigerian leaders, they have stolen $500 trillion. So from the income generating from the crude oil. So according to Nuri Badu, when he was the chairman of the EFCC, all this money can transform the electricity without selling the electricity to the individual, to Nigerians. So it is a project which governments supposed to undo in a way that it will be very convenient for the citizens. So to have a stability of light in their home and pay less. During Obasanjo, when Obasanjo was in government, so Obasanjo, before he left, he sold Nigerian refinery in Port Harcourt. He sold Kaduna refinery to Dangote. So when Yaradua came, Yaradua invited Dangote and he returned his money to him. So he said that Nigeria refinery in Kaduna is national asset for the country, so we can't sell it. And they returned his money to him when Yaradua became president. So Obasanjo privatized Nitel, and he sold Muritala Muhammad Airport. That is a Nigerian Airways at that time. So he used about $42 million to buy a presidential jet with plate number 5NFCT at that time. He sold Ajaokuta Steel Company and Global Steel Holding, owned by Jima Ibrahim. He sold Patriot Automobile to Alhaji Sani Dauda at that time. Obasanjo sold Nikon to Jima Ibrahim. Obasanjo sold National Oil, and he sold National Oil to Mike Adenuga in Nigeria. He sold cement company to Aliko Dangote, and he claimed that the federal government invested about 800 billion naira on the public enterprises, and they have lost huge losses. They have lost huge money. That is why he sold all those national assets. For 8 years of Olusegun Obasanjo, Nigeria made about $200 million per day. $200 million per day for good 8 years. So he was the president that time, and he was the minister of petroleum at the same time for 8 years. So he supported. So I was surprised when he supported Buhari 2015. After he supported Buhari and against Jonathan 2015, and Jonathan offended him and he refused to apologize to Baba, and Baba supported Buhari. So, and now after, because the reason why Obasanjo attacked Jonathan, because Jonathan refused to dance to his tune on certain issues, and now, so today Obasanjo complained about that Buhari government is not good. He now said that Jonathan's government is better than Buhari's government. He has been complaining that Buhari is not doing well. So Obasanjo appointed Nuhu Ribadu as EFCC. And that time, when Yaradua came, he removed Nuhu Ribadu. He removed him for self-interest. So he replaced him with Waziri Farida. And Jonathan removed Waziri Farida for unknown reason till today. So the problem is that is the corruption in the in the power sector also continued, because the efforts of the level of some of the people trying to fight corruption many of their efforts failed because their efforts curtail the level of corruption, and the living standard average of Nigeria has constantly been falling in the last uh, 30 years. In the last 30 years. So that is why when Obasanjo said that he spent $16 billion on electricity in Nigeria, that is why Buhari was trying to make his comment about last year that maybe Obasanjo may be invited by the FCC, but so to explain how he spent $16 billion on electricity and Nigeria is still suffering for the electricity. But later, so the news went on the carpets. So these are the problem that we have in Nigeria. Let us look into as I said in the beginning, the reason why we brought this topic, the House of Rep, Chief Femi Gbajabiamila, who is the current Speaker of House of Representatives, he proposed a bill that if Buhari can approve the free electricity supply for 2 months for Nigerians during this lockdown, it will be very, very good. So that is his own personal opinion. And Femi Gbajabiamila told the National Assembly that it will be good and it will boost the economy through the informal sector. But as I speak today, so no decision has been taken by the federal government. So I'm sure they will never approve it because they will, the company that controlling the distribution of electricity will ask who is going to bear the payments, so financially or this and that. As I told you that electricity is not in the hand of federal government anymore. Nigeria claim that they are using 5,000 megawatts or 4,000 megawatts. When Fashola was Minister of Power, he himself understood the problem that we have in the electricity. Buhari thought that he can undo the Minister of Power, but it's something else when he became Minister of Power. That man suffered, and he himself knows that Nigeria electricity is not in the hand of Nigerian government. And Nigeria needs at least 280,000 megawatts to have 24 hours, 7 days in a week electricity. If we check, if we check China, in China, they have about 26,614,800 megawatts in China. So, and they are about 1.4 billion in China. And if we check United States of America, US, so they have about 4,460,800 megawatts. So, and Nigeria, we claim they claim that Nigerian population is about 200 million. Nigerian government even doesn't know the actual population of Nigeria, because sometimes they will say 107 million, sometimes they will say 200 million. Let's assume that Nigerians are 200 million. So, and they are generating 4,000 megawatts or 5,000 megawatts. So it is not even enough for that country. If you check United Kingdom, so United Kingdom, they have about 333,900 megawatts. So, and they are about 67 million. In France, they have about 574,200 megawatts, and they are about 65 million. Japan, they use about 1.5 million megawatts, and about 126 million in Japan. Russia, they use about 1.1 million megawatts, and they are just about 145 million. In Canada, they are using about 654,400 megawatts. They are just about 37 million. In Germany, they use 648 megawatts so of electricity, and they are about 83 million. In India, they use about 1.5 million megawatts, and they're about 1.3 billion. So South Korea, they use about 594,300 megawatts. South Africa, they are using 256,000 megawatts. In Egypt, they use about 100,000 megawatts. So Nigeria is using about 4 to 5,000 megawatts, but they put it on to the world that they are using 20,000 megawatts, and it's not up to that. It is not up to that. And at least, as I said, Nigeria needs about 280,000 megawatts. So North Korea, they are using about 20,000 megawatts. Ghana, they are using about 10,000 megawatts. So why Nigeria do not have stability of electricity? So as I said, that because there are many problems. There are many problems. Like for instance, Nigeria can use wind, and they can use solar, and we have many dams. So all those dams are abandoned there. So wind energy has potential, but unreliable. So increased amount of wind can increase amount of electricity to generate more electricity for the local consumption. And some countries, they use nuclear energy, which requires a stable energy grid, so to be maintained in some country. So according to my investigation and some people that I spoke to regarding to this issue, and the Association of Nigerian Electricity Distributors says that Nigeria may not have stable power supply in the next 5 years. And some experts said they may not even have the stable of electricity in the next 20, 30, 50, 40 years to come, except the challenges that confronting the sector are addressed by the federal government. So the government have opportunity to address the challenges. They have opportunity. Mr. Sunday Oduntan, who is the director of research is director of this association that I mentioned. He described this that he described this statement, which I said earlier, at a news conference in Lagos, which was published as well in Punch newspaper, July 24, 2018 as well. He said the reason why that Nigeria cannot have lights in the next 5 years, that they cannot have stability of light 24 hours, 7 days in a week. He said, number one, lack of much needed investments in transmission and distribution network, and rising energy theft and some other issues in Nigeria. Number two, he said lack of improved generation due to mismatched electricity pricing. Number three, he said that many ministries, many military offices in Nigeria, many departments of government offices, many Nigerian government agencies, many agencies in Nigeria, they do not pay for energy consumed. So he said that ministries, departments, and agencies own the company that they are controlling the electricity for now. He said they own the company about 72 billion naira since about August 2017, and they are not ready to pay. So nothing has been paid by the military. There are many military offices, navy offices, police offices, air force offices. Some of their offices, they don't pay. They don't pay for the energy consumed by their offices, and all this is affecting the company that's holding the power in Nigeria. So he said until Nigerian government review the electricity tariff, and they have to work together with the Ministry of Power, and because Nigeria they have he said Nigerian power loses about 332.461 billion due to insufficient gas supply and distribution of the electricity, and distribution and also transmission between January to July 2019. That is the money that they lose. And instead, in July 29, 2019, average energy sent out was about 3,588 megawatt, down by 237.73 megawatt. So 1,405 megawatts was not generated due to unavailability of gas, while 2,153 was a megawatt was not generated due to high frequency resulting for the unavailability distribution infrastructure. So most businesses have a generator, and the city is constantly filled with noises of the generator as pollution from the million of people creating their own power through the generator. And the generator also can cause cancer. So, and because when the air is polluted, so it can cause cancer. And some of the proposed bill by National Assembly, because recently it was on the news recently that National Assembly, one guy proposed a bill at National Assembly to ban generator in Nigeria. So without providing the stability of electricity. So I don't think that one can work. They have to provide the electricity before they can ban generator in Nigeria. And those people who are bringing generator to Nigeria as well, they are spending billions of naira to block any project that will resort to stability of electricity in Nigeria. So the history have it on record that this Saturi rebellion in Sokoto in 1905 and the Isheyin and Adubi rising in western Nigeria in 1916 and 1918, and the Abba women riots in 1929 and 1945, and general strike by workers, and the strike by energy, coal, mineral nationalists who fought for the independence in Nigeria. They went through a lot of trouble, rising against the power of colonial master at that time. So Nigerian leaders they persuaded the British that Nigeria had a good chance of surviving as a united nation. So, and Nigeria obtained political independence. That was October 1, 1960. But economic independence compounded problem for young nation. During the colonial era, so Nigeria economy, is very good. It's very good, and there's some Nigerians who reacted to the unexpected booming of crude oil money that we have that time, and then Nigeria security, custom, education, power sector. So we have so corruption in many of these industry, which has affected many things in Nigeria. So corruption in Nigeria have reached new level in the education, power sector, security, health sector. See this COVID-19 fund as well. So the money has been looted. So no accountability for that. Chinua Achebe is said in his book titled "The Trouble with Nigeria." He said, I quote, he said, there is nothing basically wrong with Nigerian land. There is nothing wrong with Nigerian land, climate, water, air, or anything. As the Nigerian problem is the unwillingness or inability of the leaders to raise their responsibility to the challenge of personal example, which is the hallmark of the time leadership. When I was in Nigeria, I traveled to many states to investigate the problem of this electricity. So, and I went to Jeba, I went to Mena, I went to some other states where we have a dam. That what is wrong with Nigerian dams? So, and because dams are constructed to serve many purposes, such as food control, water control, and power generation. So these are the benefits and advantages of dams. And now there are many dams in Nigeria. We have many dams in Nigeria, but there are major dams in Nigeria, and all the dams that we have that is working, that they are using for to supply the electricity in Nigeria right now is in Kanji, is in Jeba, located in Niger State. That is Kanji Dam. And this Kanji Dam built between 1960 to 1968 during the Yakubu Gowon. That is when they built Kanji Dam. And number two, Jeba Dam also was built. So they built Jeba Dam in 1985 during Babangida regime. As I said, the Babangida spent a lot of money on this Jeba Dam because the dam situated in his state in Mina. Because Jeba is part of Niger State. Before it was a part of Kwara State. So Jeba Dam built in 1985. And number three, we have Shiroro Dam. So Shiroro Dam, Kanji Dam, Jeba Dam, all these dams provide electricity to all states in Nigeria. So the three dams that are working effectively are in the northern part of Nigeria, which is Mina. So then we have another one called Shiroro Dam. This Shiroro Dam, so the two dams were built during the General Ibrahim Babangida. Then there's another one called Zungeru Dam. So all these four dams, they are using hydroelectric. So they are known as hydroelectric dams, and it generates power outputs of about 1,920 megawatts for the whole nation. So for the whole Nigeria. And in 1985, Babangida spent a lot of money. And in 1968, when they first built this Kanji Dam, they spent about $209 million on that dam. So these are the dams that, because they are using hydro to provide electricity for Nigeria. So dams, the three largest hydro power dams we have in Nigeria are under operation and control the flow of the river Niger and river Kaduna. So Shiroro Dam, Kanji Dam, Jeba Dam are generating power output about 1,920 megawatts. But sometimes they will deceive you that it's generating about 5,000, 4,000 megawatts. So Nigeria also have other dams in the northern parts of Nigeria. So there are some other dams in the north central. We have other dams in southwest, in northwest, northeast. We have them. Many of these dams are not functional. So are not functional due to the lack of proper maintenance by the Nigerian government. In Katsina State, they have a dam called Jibiya Dam. So in Bauchi as well, so they have Kavinsaki Dam. In Sokoto, they have Bakolori Dam in Sokoto, and that one was built in about 1984. So they commissioned it again 1992 before Babangida left the government. Then in Kano, we have Chalawa Dam in Kano. So in Oyo, they have Ikere Dam. In Gombe, they have Dadinkowa Dam. That one was built in 1984. So in Osun State, we have about Ede Relay Dam. In Ogun State, we have Oyan River Dam. In Kebbi State, we have Zauro Dam. In Kwara State, they have Asa Dam. So they use many of them for water supply, but Nigeria do not get any water from the tap. So till today, all these dams can be used to supply water into houses, and they can use some of them to supply stability of electricity 24 hours, 7 days in a week. So in a week, some of this dam, they are using it for irrigation. They are all national dams given to us by Almighty God. So we have another one called Guzo Dam in Zamfara State. So that supply water for us. Then Kano Dam was designed for hydropower. So for hydropower generation, to generate about 3 megawatts during the rainy season in Nigeria. Dadinkowa Dam in Gombe State has a total capacity of about 800 million cuba meter of water. The cost of the water supply project was reported to be 8.2 billion by a Chinese company. So that the company is CGC Nigeria Limited, and in 2009, so another 7 billion naira was allocated to complete the hydroelectrical generation of the dam. So, but nothing come out from it. Ikare Dam was built to generate 37.5 megawatts of electricity in Nigeria in 1983. So the project has been abandoned. Jibiya Dam in Katsina State, where Muhammadu Buhari comes from. The dam was constructed between 1987 to 1989 during Babangida regime to support irrigation and water supply. So the project was abandoned. So Kiri Dam in Adamawa, the dam was completed in 1982 during Babangida regime. Mambila Dam is in Taraba State. So the Mambila Dam is a Mambila power station, which is one of the Africans, Nigerians' biggest dam project for hydropower. Plants that will be that will be connected to Kanji Dam, that will be connected to the Shiroro Dam, that will be connected to the Jeba Dam. So across the Donga River in Taraba State. So it is a power station which was commissioned by Muhammadu Buhari as well. So in intention that it will give Nigerians 3,050 megawatts in addition to 1,120 megawatt that we have already from Kanji Dam, Shiroro Dam, Jeba Dam. So, and they have intention that when the project is completed, 2030, so the project construction cost federal government, this present government, Muhammadu Buhari, they spent $5.8 billion on this project with the help of Chinese investments, with the help of Chinese investments and Federal Ministry of Power. So it will generate 50,000 employment. And the project starts in 1972. So abandoned. Then 2007, when Obasanjo came to power, so Obasanjo spent a lot of money and they recommissioned this project. Then later it was abandoned, 2007. They think that it will be completed. They have planned to complete the project 2007, but it was not completed. Then August 2010, they recommissioned the project again. Then when Buhari came, so Buhari reapproved the project again 2016, and he gave the project to 3 Chinese companies in Nigeria, which include Zigoba Group. The company is owned by Chinese, so that is why Buhari will never object any project from Chinese. So and these Chinese that they are in Nigeria, they have a lot of investments in Nigeria, and they have committed themselves into many projects. This Mambila project, so the finance for the Mambila project, Idle project, so Chinese exports, import, Exim Bank in China, so they are funding this project because they have contributed about 85% of the estimated $5.8 billion for this project, and federal government provided 15% funding. So from the federal government, so under Muhammadu Buhari. And there is a company from London, so London-based company, Bernard and Partners. So they engage they are the one that they prepare the feasibility study of the projects. So that is why you see that we have a long way to go when we are talking about electricity in Nigeria. So that you will understand, you have to understand what is going on in your country, so that when people are discussing any issue that is very important, like electricity is very, very important. Why Nigeria do not have electricity 24 hours? So these are the information I'm giving to you, and it is confirmed. It is confirmed information. So Nigeria, about 59 years back, so Nigeria was a good country whereby the value system was very high and respected. People respect Nigeria during the colonial era, whereby people have an affinity for a worthy cause. As I said, corruption is very, very low. British, they made Nigerians appreciate the value of discipline, regardless of tribe, regardless of religion. After the independence, so all those values had vanished. Due to what? Due to the bad leadership, tribalism, nepotism. So Nigerian military leaders and civilian leaders seized the opportunity to steal public fund and enrich themselves. So they enrich themselves. So Nigeria has natural resources more than many nations in the whole world. Nigeria joined OPEC in 1977 due to the bad leadership and corrupt government officials, so many of our citizens cannot afford 3 square meal in a day, and we still have problem of power, that is electricity, which is very, very bad. So many investors, they have left Nigeria because of this unstable electricity. And some of the foreign investors, when we are inviting them that they should come to Nigeria to invest, what they ask us is, when Nigerian government will fix the electricity, because they know that if they build company or they build whatever, so they still need electricity. So electricity, it is very, very, very important. So Nigeria today is world's darkest nation. They have rated Nigeria as darkest nation because the issue of energy being a factor that has already crimped the Nigerian economy. So the Nigerians' energy need being met by petrol and diesel generators. So Nigeria needs to generate at least 280,000 megawatts of electricity. The total generation in Nigeria during the Yaradua is about 1,920 megawatts. So former late president, so Alhaji Umar Musa Yaradua, when he was in the government, so he tried his best that Nigeria have 9 to 10,000 megawatts. So the project set up two powerful stations, 102 transmission lines, 22 transformers. So he spent about $7.2 billion, Yaradua. That is about 1.5 trillion naira, without any fruitful results. So many power projects also failed during the Goodluck Jonathan. So Buhari became Nigerian president May 29, 2015. So, and as I said, so Nigeria power needs to be upgraded. So for the businesses, and also for the government and some other public and the private sectors. Nigerian former president Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, as I said, he claimed that he spent $16 billion on electricity during his 8 years rule. He targeted about 10,000 megawatts of the electricity between 1999 to 2007, but Nigeria remained epileptic power supply. So during the Yaradua, so Nigeria House of Rep, they investigated how Obasanjo spent $16 billion on the electricity. In the end, so the investigation that lasted them about 4 weeks, so no tangible outcome of the effort, how $16 billion was spent by Obasanjo's government on electricity. So Yaradua ignored Nigerians who demanded for probing Obasanjo Why? Because Obasanjo helped Yar'Adua to become Nigerian president. So, 2007. So it was Obasanjo and Babangida helped Yar'Adua to become president. So Obasanjo also was not probed by Yar'Adua until so recent when Buhari mentioned the issue, but no action. So 2018, so Buhari challenged Obasanjo, as I said, 2018. He said that Buhari said there is nothing to show for the $16 billion spent by Chief Olusegun Obasanjo's administration on the power sector. So Buhari criticized Obasanjo and he expressed his concern about the unstable of electricity in Nigeria. So corruption in the energy sector in Nigeria has a long way. It has a long history in Nigeria. So because 16 billion that is said is spent, so yet Nigeria remains in darkness till today. Jonathan, let us look into Jonathan's government. So a former Nigerian president, Goodluck Jonathan, so as well, what he did, he privatized the power sector on the 26th August 2010 when he launched the roadmap to power sector he announced the winner bid on the 16th October 2012. So for the generating and distributing electricity in Nigeria. So the power holding company of Nigeria, power holding, so PHCN, was split into 6. So they split the company into 6. So into 6 generation and 11 distribution firms. So all sold separately for about $2.5 billion. So that is the amount of Jonathan sold PHCN. So they sold it. And when it was sold, so after he sold the power holding, so and Nigeria is as I said, Nigeria is the biggest crude oil producer in Africa, with daily outputs of about 2.6 million barrels per day. So, but due to the bad leadership and the corruption, so among the top government officials, Nigeria remained the darkest nation in the world. That is very, very sad. So, Jonathan sold Nigeria's power to private sector for $2.5 billion. So power holding keeps the light on for only a few hours in a day. So forcing those who cannot afford it to rely on expensive diesel generators that burn up billions of dollars. So most of the people who bought the power holding include Nigerian former head of state, Abubakar Absalami. Remember that Abubakar Absalami became Nigeria head of state immediately after General Sani Abacha died, June 8, 1998. So Abubakar Absalami became head of state. Most of the money that they returned to Nigeria, he looted the money. So now he's one of those people who bought power holding in Nigeria. Number 2, former military governor of Kano, Sani Bello. Sani Bello also is the second person, and number 3 is Emeka Offor. So he's an Igbo guy. So these 3 people, they are the one that controlling the electricity in Nigeria. So stop blaming Buhari and the next government as well. When Buhari finished in 2023, when Buhari finished his tenure 2023, so I don't know if the next government will take any radical action on this. So Jonathan, after Jonathan sold power holding to these 3 people, Jonathan issued their share certificate and operating license for them. So a lack of investment in the transmission network and poor gas supply and labor disputes remain challenges in delaying the progress in boosting power. So that is the problem. So in boosting power outputs in Nigeria, so Jonathan paid $750 million to help the improvement of the transmission. So after he sold the company, then Jonathan spent $750 million so to help the improvement of the transmission, that is to support the company so that Nigeria will have a stability of electricity. And Jonathan signed a deal of about $1.3 billion with the Chinese government. Jonathan signed a deal with a Chinese government to build another power plant before Buhari came as a president in Nigeria. So Nigerian power capacity hit about 5,000 megawatts before Buhari came. So according to the government. So National Integrated Power Project, that is a NIPP project, was set up when Jonathan was in the government. But Jonathan said power is one area Nigerians appreciate, and we are yet to get about 24 hours of light in our cities. So he said this before he left. So with the hope that things will work well, that is what Jonathan hoped before he left the government. So Power Holding Company of Nigeria are in charge of monitoring electricity transmission data in Nigeria. So that is what they said. And they said that they can only generate about 4,321 megawatts. They said this on 31 August 2012 when Jonathan was in government. So they have told Nigerians the capacity they can generate that time. So now, what we have currently? So what we have currently in Nigeria, so Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, as I said, that is NAS. So forget about NEPA, nothing like NEPA in Nigeria. Forget about power holding, nothing like power holding anymore. Check your bill, you will see it on top. So Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission is the company that regulates electricity in Nigeria right now, and that is the fact. So the company is owned by General Abubakar Absalami, Sani Bello, and Emeka Ofo. So Jonathan sold power holding to these three men, regulating the electricity. So Nigerians use all this electricity in 36 states. So the company was divided into separate companies. So they divided the company as well into separate companies known as Electric Distribution Company. That is a DISCO. So, or local distribution companies. Each is responsible for handling electricity. So, electricity distribution in each state in Nigeria. So, they now, in May 2016, so the company have 11 companies in charge of distributing electricity to Nigerians. Number one, Abuja Electricity Distribution Company PLC. Number two, Benin Electricity Distribution Company PLC. Eko Electricity Distribution Company PLC. Enugu Electricity Distribution Company PLC. Ibadan Electricity Distribution Company PLC. Ikeja Electricity Distribution Company PLC. Jos Electricity Distribution Company PLC. Kano Electricity Distribution Company PLC. Kaduna Electricity Distribution Company PLC. Kaduna, so Electricity Distribution Company Kaduna. After Kaduna, then we have Port Harcourt. So Port Harcourt Electricity Distribution Company. Then we have Yola. So Yola Electricity Distribution Company PLC. So these 11 companies was established May 2016. So under the three persons that I mentioned. So all this company, there are some people they have bought share. So they bought share. So they remain like shareholders of the company. Then they have another six company another 6 companies for generation. The one I mentioned is for distributing. Then they have another company, 6 company for generation. So number 1, Afam Power PLC. Number 2, Egbe Power PLC. Number 3, Kanji Hydro PLC. Number 4, Sakpele Power PLC. Number 5, Shiroro Hydroelectric PLC. Number 6, Ugel Power PLC. So these are the another 6 companies to generate electricity for under these 11 companies that I mentioned for all 36 states in Nigeria. So this is how they divided the company into different companies. So you can check there are some. If you check their headquarters, you will see many of the reports about all this thing I'm saying, and it is really confirmed. It's confirmed. So how is electricity distributed in Nigeria? So electricity is generated at between 11.5 to 16 kV and step up by the step up transformer to 330 kV at the power station. Then the voltage is stepped down by a distribution transformer to about 11 kV. So that is how it goes. Then which in town is stepped down to 0.415 kV and further stepped down to 240 kV before it gets to your home, before it gets to your offices. That is how they generate electricity in Nigeria now, by the company that owns the electricity right now. So the erratic power supply in Nigeria is metaphor. It is metaphor. Blackouts are often and Nigeria in Africa. So Nigeria is one of the top gas producer. After Russia, Nigeria is the next gas producer all over the world. So I don't know why we are still having this problem. So after Russia, so Nigeria is the largest oil. We are number 6 among the crude oil producer. We are number 6. Then gas. After Russia, Nigeria is the second. So Nigeria is the second. We have too much gas. So yet over 50% of Nigerians do not have access to electricity. That is very bad. So unstable light in Nigeria has killed many Nigerians. It has killed many businesses. Blackout has added to the crime in Nigeria. Affected the security. It has affected many hospitals, damaged many food in the freezer, damaged many homes, appliances. Many residents are not happy with the Nigerian Electricity by Regulatory Commission (NAS), with the high electricity monthly bills due to the unstable supply of electricity. Many offices do not even pay their electricity bill, as I said, in Nigeria, which is estimated total about $1.2 billion, according to the company, that the money they have lost. So many politicians, many individuals, many military offices, companies, organizations also do not pay their bills in Nigeria. Some, they even tap illegal power, electricity, so and connected it to their home. So many workers of electricity supply mismanage the revenue of the company as well. Some, they will collect money without deliver the money to the office. So some switched to investor generators. So electricity workers strike if the company fail to pay their salaries. So many Nigerians are not happy with the services. They have introduced prepaid meter. If a customer wants a meter, he will apply to the electricity distribution company known as DISCO. The meter is provided free of charge. The customer pay for the installation. So DISCO is responsible to provide new transformer. So if there is a fault within 48 hours, so DISCO disconnect your electricity if you own electricity bill, and also they may give a final warning before they disconnect your electricity or your power or your energy. So electricity is inadequate in Nigeria. So most of the rural communities do not even have access to electricity in Nigeria. Some who have it receive crazy bill, which does not reflect so the correct consumption of their meter. Which has caused a lot of problem between the customers and the company. So their customers in Nigeria depend on 4 things. So location of a disco customer, tariff class of customer, tariff rate, and the quantity of electricity consumed by the customer. So in Nigeria, so power shortages are a great problem for Nigeria to boost technology, because technology, it is very, very important, but they need electricity to boost technology industry. Interrupted electricity is the major problem of many businesses in Nigeria. So other challenges that we have in Nigeria are corruption and taxes. So Nigerians' unreliable electricity cost Nigerian government themselves about 29 billion US dollar in a year. Yes, so and that is the fact. And power will save many of the money that government also spend a lot of money on diesel, on the electricity bill, because they are not in charge anymore. So International Monetary Fund, IMF says that the lack of access to reliable electricity costs. So this is IMF, what they said about the problem of electricity in Nigeria. They said that the lack of access to reliable electricity in Nigeria cost Nigerian an estimated about $29 billion in a year. So the situation has affected the environmental and health risk, because many households, organizations, companies, individuals, governments, departments, military, navy, air force, police have resorted to fossil fuel generators, and Nigeria spent an estimated about $29 billion in a year. So in another report, say that estimated about 1.4 billion US dollar in a year on generator. This problem creates unemployment in Nigeria, and Nigeria government must address this issue. So these are the things that is going on in the power sector. Buhari may fail if he ignore solution to solve Nigerian problem on security. In the area of power sector, if the federal government invest more money and invite those 3 people, and so they know what to do if they want Nigerians to have 24 hours, 7 days in a week, to have stability of electricity. They know what they can do, and Buhari can do it. So, but he has invested a lot of money on Mambila projects, so which is in Taraba State. That is why Buhari is not have much interest on any other project than that. They believe that when they finish that project, so Nigerians will get more electricity, and the project will be completed in 2030. So, and it's leaving the government 2023. So Nigerian problem lies on knowledge without character, so right without responsibility, politics without principle, and worship without fear of God. So Nigeria, we have many churches, we have many mosques. So without having the fearness of God, which is very important. So worship without fear of God. Leadership without the quality of leadership. Empty promises from Nigerian politicians. So that they will do this, they will do that for us. If you vote for us, we will make sure that you have stable electricity. So since 1960 till now, next election now, 2023, so they will still say that, they will still promise that they will make sure that you have electricity 24 hours. So I have told you the facts, the truth about the electricity in Nigeria. So Nigerian politicians, they have become power drunk. They have become power drunk and trespassed all the political rules. And as I said, that nothing wrong with Nigeria, nothing wrong with the power, nothing wrong with the water, climate, according to Achebe. The problem is the leadership. So inability of the leaders to raise the responsibility, which is the hallmark of the true leadership. So Nigerian leaders, they have unlimited access to unlimited fund for personal use. So Nigeria will continue to remain the way it is. Even worse, if the government and individual ignore their responsibilities. So that is the fact, because no leadership without the quality of leadership. Don't be happy that you are a leader until you deliver the quality of leadership. When the followers feel your leadership, that is when we can say that you are a true leader. So so these are the issues that we have for us today to digest and to review and think about this, because we are not happy the situation Nigeria is in the area of electricity, because it has affected many foreign investors and it has affected the country as well. So that is what we have for us today. But before I go, we let us check the holy books. We have to check the holy books about the importance of light. So how God value light. Light is very, very, very important. Why Almighty God creates sun? You see that we use sun, the sunlight, for many purposes. And many of the animals and the plants, they use sunlight to survive. And Almighty God creates a moon. So before Faraday invented the electricity, as I said in the beginning, 1800, when even they invented the battery as well, by Volta. So the world, let's say about 1600 back or 1500 before they invented electricity, how the people live their lives. So they use the light from the sun and the light from moon, and in the night so they use the local lamp. So Almighty God mentioned about light in the Bible and in the Quran. If we check Quran 24 verse 35, we will see that Almighty Allah hates darkness. So they should fear God and also follow what God said about the light. So light is electricity, and it is very, very important. For instance, Islam revealed that one of the most intricate verse in the Holy Quran about the verse of light, which most of the philosophers and Sufis, Sufiyun, have discussed. So they said God is light. So Almighty God is not a God of darkness. So God is light, and God has a sacred light, embraces the entire heaven and earth. So his sacred light embraces the entire world. So the light of his existence shining and manifest across the globe. If we check Quran 24 verse 35, so Almighty God said, Allahu nuru samawati wal ardi. Allahu nuru. So Allahu can nuri samawati wal ardi, but they have removed that letter kef. So Allahu nuru samawati wal ardi. God is the light of the heaven and earth. So God discussed about light. So light is very, very important in any society. So Almighty God said, "Mathalu nurihi kamishikatin fiha misbahu limisbahu vi zujajatin azujajatu ka'annaha kawkabun duriyun." He said, God said that a likeness of the light is as a nisi in which niche in which God is just talking is like in parable. So a likeness of God's light, or a parable of the light, or a similitude of his light is like a lamp, and the lamp is in a glass, and the glass is as it were brightening, so brightly shining star. So he compares the divine light to the simplest object that guides man and illuminates his path in the depth of darkness, a lamp. So why God not compare this light to the most brilliant like sun, which passes light to the moon? Why God compared this light to a man-made lamp? So sun has its own effect on living things. So if God compared this light with that of the sun, it will indicate a diminution from the state of the Creator to the level of what he created. So he knows that believers, unbelievers, they benefit from the light of sun. So he knows that man-made lamp qualities cannot be found or compare to his own creation. So he said, Mathalu nurihi kamishka'atin fiha al-misbahu, or fiha misbahu. So the likeness of this light, of his light, is as a nishi, a which is a lamp that can be studied from the perspective. So to the perspective, for instance, that is, if a person for instance, want to travel, you want to travel to a certain distance in the darkness. Is it possible for you to travel in the darkness? It is not possible. You need light. So it is not possible for us to travel in the darkness. So that is why Almighty God procure a lamp in this verse, so that he can illuminate the paths and ahead of him, the lamp that will help not to lose his way, and also in order to reach his final destination safely. That is, we need light before we can arrive our destination. So you will see even motor cars, all those cars, they have light. Even aeroplane have light, train have light. So we human beings, we need to survive with light. Al-misbahu fi zujajatin ka'annaha kawkabun duriyun. The lamp is in a glass, as it were a brightly shining star. What could the glass that enclose and protect the lamp as mentioned in this verse? Because the function of the glass is to shield the light from being extinguished by the forces of the wind. Because when the light is protected, so to protect the light from the wind, so from the storms, so survival and the luminancy of the light depend upon the glass. The glass is protective device. So that is, continuation of the light is linked to the presence of the glass. So the light of God is a continuity, or continually dependent on his eternal existence. So yakadu zaitua yudi walaulam tamsasi narun. The oil. So the oil of whereof almost gives light. So that is the fire. It's light carries fire carries light. So fire supplies light. Sometimes it's just because we cannot touch fire because it's hot, but light gives us the light. And so because through fire touch it not, and every light that exists in the universe has the feature that in order to become luminous, because it always requires a spot to initially set it alight and work it effectively. So, but the light of Almighty God is an exception. So it's an exception. The light of God is unique and perfect. So nurun ala nur. So God is light upon light. So God is light upon light. When you have light, So things will go well with you. If you are moving with people that they have light in their body, the light that you cannot see by your eyes, so the light of God, that is somebody who is very prayerful, we have the light, the sacred light. So, and if you are moving with people who are in the darkness,